We've done the best, the worst, the hardest, and the easiest, which means it's finally time to take a look at the ugliest level from every Mega Man game 1 through 11. Mega Man 1 is of course the first Mega Man game ever made on the NES, and because of this, the levels are all a bit ugly when compared to the rest of the series. Despite every level having a general ugliness to it, I still enjoy a lot of the designs overall, but I just had to point that out when compared to the other NES Mega Man games, these stages are real ugly. Cutman stage is one that's kind of awkward looking because it has a CMYK color scheme, and that's just odd, but I don't hate how it looks at all. In fact, I actually like the look of this stage overall. Gutsman stage, while being one of my favorites to play through, is not very easy on the eyes. I wouldn't call it the ugliest, but it's certainly very bland. Fireman stage is one of my favorites in terms of design, and Iceman stage is just cool, so of course that stage is not going to be ugly. Bomb Man stage is one I instinctively want to call ugly, but the more I play Mega Man 1, the more this stage grows on me. Of course it's pretty fun to play through, but even the design of Bomb Man stage looks great due to the giant bomb-shaped buildings in the background. Other than those buildings though, the stage does not have very much going for it, but yeah, those buildings are certainly cool, right? Like and subscribe if you think Bomb Man's bomb-shaped buildings are epic. The Wily Castle stages are all also pretty bland, but they all have their moments that make them difficult to call the ugliest. But contrary to popular belief, I actually think the ugliest stage from Mega Man 1 goes to Elecman stage. Now this stage is not the ugliest in the world once you're able to get some fresh air and see the dark blue skybox, but the inside is full of every worst shade of orange and yellow you could possibly come up with. I don't necessarily hate those colors or anything, but when the entire screen looks like that, it gives me a headache and makes me want to cry, so for that reason, Elecman stage is the ugliest stage from Mega Man 1. Mega Man 2 stages are all significantly more beautiful than the atrocities from Mega Man 1, which is going to make choosing the ugliest rather difficult. At least that's what would be the case if there wasn't one stage in Mega Man 2 that's clearly uglier than the rest. Instead of cutting this entry short, I'll give you some time to figure out which stage is the obvious ugly one while I go over the beauty of Mega Man 2's other stages. Obviously, Flashman stage is one of the coolest looking stages of all time, Airman stage has even better CMYK vibes than Cutman stage, Bubbleman stage is one of the only water stages in all of video gaming history that isn't completely abysmal. Heatman stage looks like the inside of a chimney or a brick oven, which is of course very appropriate considering Heatman. Metalman stage is Christmas colors and just overall fun to look at. Woodman stage looks like you're touring a nature preserve, and Quickman stage does look kind of weird, but I still like this stage a lot and I think the colors are very pretty. Even the Wily stages all look great. I mean, Wily 1 has a great setup vibe for entering the evil castle. Wily 2 looks gross at first, but quickly makes up for its color palette with beautiful stage design. Wily 3 also looks a little rundown and gross admittedly, but I think that fits perfectly for what they were going for. Wily 4 is literally just the color purple, so of course that is not too bad, and Wily 6 is one of my favorite looking stages of all time. Which means, if you haven't figured it out yet, Crashman stage is the one that's ugly. I like Crashman stage for the most part, but those weird, ugly, greenish, yellow pipes certainly are not very pretty. Crashman stage does have some sections that are a lot less ugly once you make it outside, but that section does not make up for the nausea I always get from playing the beginning of this stage. So, sorry Mario, I hate to say it, but these ugly green or yellow pipes are what ultimately made Crashman stage the ugliest stage from Mega Man 2. Mega Man 3 is full of mostly beautiful looking stages, but there are 2 or 3 that stand out as subpar. Magnum Man stage is one I'm not a huge fan of, and the visual aesthetic is a very big reason as to why. I mean, this isn't the ugliest stage I've ever seen in my life or anything, and I guess the enemies look pretty good against the stage background, but in general I just do not like how Magnum Man stage looks. I guess I like that there's magnetic looking wire things on the floor every now and then, but I mean, come on, we're grasping at straws here, guys. This stage is ugly. Top Man stage is another one that visually does not hold up super well against the rest of Mega Man 3's stages. There are parts of this stage that look really cool, and I think it's funny that Top Man is very clearly a drug dealer who stores his product inside the walls of his own stage, so there's no way this stage is the ugliest. Some of the Wily stages look a tad bit bland, but I think that overall they fit the vibe of the evil castle, and none of them qualify for being the ugliest. That honor would of course have to go to Hard Man's stupid stage. I know this stage is in the mountains or whatever, but I do not like how it looks at all. It's just a bunch of ugly rocks with a bunch of ugly and annoying enemies spread throughout, which is not a fun time for me or my eyes. For some reason, the battle against Breakman also seems to be at Hardman stage, which is pretty annoying considering this is literally the ugliest stage from Mega Man 3. Whatever, I guess, it happens. Mega Man 4 is the first game to have 2 different castles, which means we have some extra stages to take a look at. Pharaoh Man stage is one I've heard a lot of people claim to be ugly, but I like this stage a lot. I guess sand is not the most appealing thing to look at in the world, but against the contrasting night sky, I think it looks great. Also, it looks like the opening to the original Metroid, and I love that game, so anyone who calls this ugly is a stupid noob. Drill Man stage, as I've said many times before, freaks me out a good bit, but you know what? I still don't think it's very ugly, despite being freaky. Dustman stage is another one that I've heard complaints about, but I think this is actually one of the better looking stages in Mega Man 4. The same goes for pretty much all of the Cossack and Wily stages too, surprisingly. I mean, every single one of these stages either looks straight up amazing or fits a theme that suits the game too perfectly to call ugly. But there is one stage in Mega Man 4 that may be fun, but is still ugly. That stage is of course Dive Man stage. Now, it's about time I hated on a water level in a video game, but I actually like this level a lot in terms of gameplay. Even the colors are fairly pretty, and the stage has a lot of good looking tile sets, but this isn't a video on the best looking tile sets from every Mega Man game 1 through 11, now is it? No, it's not. For some reason, the way the enemies look against this stage makes it feel kind of weird in terms of looks, and while I don't think this stage looks horrible or anything like that, I do think it is the ugliest stage in Mega Man 4. The ugliest stage in Mega Man 5 is Charge Man stage. Yep, this joke never ends. Mega Man 6's stages are very hit or miss, being either the most beautiful sight you've ever laid your eyes on or one of the most atrocious images constructed by mankind. Centaur Man stage is one I've complained about a good bit recently, and even one of the uglier stages in this game, but you know what? This stage is not ugly at all. It may look a bit weird and have some strange design choices like water in the sky, but I don't care. I like how Centaur Man stage looks, so I'm not gonna call it the ugliest stage. Wily 3 is another stage I've heard some bad things about in terms of looks, but this is actually one of my favorite stages in Mega Man 6, but don't ask me why because I'm not telling you. Surprisingly, once again, pretty much every Wily and Mr. X castle stage look pretty appealing for the most part, though there are a couple of areas that are getting away with some very tacky color schemes. I'm not gonna say any names, but you know who you are, Mega Man 6 level with tacky color schemes. You know who you are. Plant Man stage is one of the most rage-inducing stages of all time, but that rage does not come from the design as far as I can tell. The design isn't great. I mean, it's just in the jungle somewhere in Brazil, and I think it looks good as far as that goes, but I'm not a huge fan of this stage overall. But despite being biased towards Plant Man stage, it's still not the ugliest stage from Mega Man 6. That honor would have to go to Windman's crummy stage. I'm not sure why, because I enjoy playing through this stage, but for some reason, I've always thought both Windman and his stupid stage were incredibly ugly. I can't even really point out what I would change if someone hired me to make it stop looking ugly, but I wouldn't even take that job if someone offered, which is why Windman stage is the ugliest stage from Mega Man 6. With the 8-bit NES games taken care of, it's of course time to look at the newer Mega Man games, which have way more bits. Now, you would think that having more bits would mean we have more beautiful looking levels due to each of the bits contributing towards making a beautiful image, but the way I see it is having more bits means we're more likely to get ugly levels because each bit has a % chance of being ugly, therefore having more bits in total means a more higher, greater % chance of being ugly, right? That's how this works, right? Right? That is how this works, right? Mega Man 7, the first classic Mega Man game on the Super Nintendo, actually has mostly good-looking stages. Cloud Man stage is obviously extremely pretty, though of course still inferior to Air Man stage. Junk Man stage, despite being made of literal junk, is very well put together. Burst Man stage does have some very ugly areas, but overall is full of good looks. Freeze Man stage is one of my favorite looking stages of all time because it's so cool. Spring Man stage is just epic. Shade Man stage is one of the best looking stages of all time, but Turbo Man Man and Slash Man stages are a bit lacking in comparison. Now, before we get into that, I will say the Wily stages are not the most beautiful in Mega Man 7 other than Wily 1, which looks great, but the Wily stages still look completely fine for what they're supposed to be. Even if I do wish there was just a little bit less green in Wily 2, I mean, come on, you have enough green, Wily 2. But Mega Man 7's ugliest stage comes down to either Turbo Man or Slash Man stage, just because neither of them stand out as being spectacular in any capacity. Turbo Man stage does have that big ugly truck, I guess, and it also has a bunch of tires everywhere, which is probably good game design or something, but I don't know. Slash Man stage, on the other hand, reminds me of Jurassic Park, which I do enjoy, but Slash Man stage also have platforms that can very easily be mistaken for turds, but I talk about that a lot in my worst platforms video. This is a pretty tough choice, but at the end of the day, I think I'm gonna have to go with Slash Man stage as the ugliest. I didn't want to pick this stage as the ugliest because I feel like I've bullied this stage a ton in my recent videos, but I don't care. Slash Man stage is the ugliest stage in Mega Man 7, so it deserves to be bullied. Mega Man 8, a game that's great. Half of the stages in Mega Man 8 look alright, I guess, and the other half make me want to die, so let's get this over with quick. Clown Man stage looks very annoying even if you've never played Mega Man 8 before, but I don't know if annoying translates to ugly, and of course this is not a video on the most annoying looking stage from every Mega Man. The Wily stages in this game are also not the best looking, but once again, none of them are ugly enough to really stand out from the pack. Tengu Man stage looks great at first, but as soon as you die and have to restart from a checkpoint, the stage will progressively get uglier every time you play it for the rest of your life. Sword Man stage looks like a worse version of Ground Man stage from Rockman and Forte, and Aquaman stage looks kind of weird, but the ugliest stage for Mega Man 8 by far is Astro Man's horrible stage. The outside portion of this stage is full of the most tacky colored platforms you have ever seen in your entire life, and the inside portion of the stage looks like a cut section of Cyber Peacock stage, which is from Mega Man X4 by the way, and I mean admittedly that is not an ugly stage, but the way Astro Man did it is very ugly, which is why Astro Man stage is the worst stage from Mega Man 8. Rockman and Forte, one of the coolest games of all time, has almost zero ugly stages. You would think that maybe Magic Man or Tengu Man would have the ugliest stage on account of getting most of their assets from Mega Man 8, but Rockman and Forte actually added their own style to their assets to make these stages look way better than they did in Mega Man 8. The rest of Rockman and Forte stages are obviously beautiful as well, since this is Rockman and Forte after all, and not Mega Man 8, but there is one stage that is an exception to this rule, being King Stage 1. Now, maybe it's just the PTSD I have from playing this game so many times talking here, but I don't like how this stage looks one bit. Everything is too bland and the colors make me depressed. I like the background sprites a fair bit, I suppose, but I can't get over how dull the floor tiles and walls are, and for that reason, King Stage 1 is the ugliest stage from Rockman and Forte. Mega Man 9 brings us back to 8-bit styled graphics, meaning we now have less bits in the way to mess up our pretty stages. Pretty much every Robot Master stage looks great though. Concrete Man stage is pretty, Jewel Man stage is purple, Hornet Man stage has a literal flower garden, Tornado Man stage is cool, Plug Man stage is fairly good looking, Galaxy Man stage is one of my favorites, Magma Man stage may be the best looking in the game, and Splash Woman stage is alright I guess. But the ugliest stage for Mega Man 9 is actually Wily 1. Yeah, for some reason I just don't like how this stage looks. The first time I played this stage, I was like, wow, this actually looks really good. I like this stage a lot, but now when I play this stage, I'm all like, wow, this actually looks really bad. I wish I was playing a different stage. So yeah, Wily 1 is the ugliest level from Mega Man 9. Mega Man 10's ugliest stage is pretty obvious, so I'm not going to waste your time here. I mean, it's Pump Man stage, obviously. I mean, come on, this stage is dull and bland, and I hate how it looks, and so do you, so yeah, it's the ugliest stage for Mega Man 10. Mega Man 11, the newest game in the Mega Man franchise, did a pretty good job of making sure everything in this game was balanced in terms of looks, with nothing being too horrendously bad or spectacularly good to skew the rankings. I've heard a lot of people say how they hate the Wily Castle stages looks in this game, but the Wily Castle stages are actually some of my favorites in terms of looks and design, so for all the people out there saying that, please stop, you're hurting my feelings. Blockman stage is not the best looking level I've ever seen in my life, but it looks like the most stereotypical first choice stage in video game history, history, and it turns out you are supposed to go here first, so can't fault Blockman Stage for that, I guess. Blast Man Stage is a little dark, I suppose, but the enemies and gimmicks really work together to make this stage feel like a cohesive experience. Bounce Man Stage may look ugly to some people, but I actually kind of like this stage. Now, I'm not gonna sit here and try to tell you that Bounce Man Stage looks like a spectacularly beautiful masterpiece, but I'm also not gonna sit here and tell you it's ugly. The ugliest stage in Mega Man 11 would have to go to Impact Man Stage. While there isn't anything in this stage that exclusively stands out as horribly ugly, this is by far the most basic and dreary stage out of all of them. It's just super bland and boring and dark and not colorful at all, and I can sit here all day listing random assorted reasons as to why this stage is ugly, but I mean, please just trust me when I say Impact Man Stage is the ugliest stage from Mega Man 11. Those were the ugliest levels from every Mega Man game 1 through 11. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe, because the next video I'm making is going to be on the most beautiful level from every Mega Man game 1 through 11. And trust me, you do not want to miss that.